there, and welcome to another breathing room. Now, AI transformation isn't a technology change, and it never actually was. It's actually a leadership one. And today we have a special guest joining us in the breathing room who proved just that in one of the biggest urgent care organizations in the UK. My name is Laura Chattington. I partner with companies to help them embed AI into their work streams so they can save time, add more value, and fully leverage AI to scale. And I'm here with Tara Lee, who has 20 years experience in health, social care, and work in the third sector with a background of commissioning of over £500 million and a proven ability to drive transformational programs that yield tangible results. And today, we have something a little different. We're joined by Katherine Pitts, who is the Deputy Chief Executive and Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer at Integrated Care 24, IC24. Now, IC24, if you don't know them, are one of the biggest urgent care organizations in the UK, providing hundreds of millions of pounds of healthcare through 30 years, actually.
Yeah.
They had their birthday.
30 years, yeah.
And, healthcare across the country. And what makes today special isn't just what they've done with AI, but actually what they've done. So leading it from the front as a leadership team. So a very, very warm welcome to the breathing room, Katherine.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. I don't know if I can beat that. So yeah, no, massive thank you. And I think, as I said earlier, we're just finishing celebrating our month of our 30-year celebrations, and part of that and part of reflecting on what we've done as an organisation is how we've evolved and how we've innovated to stay current across 30 years of urgent care and integrated urgent care. And of course, the new platform and the new springboard with AI is a new part of our innovation and a new part of our evolution. So yeah, really happy to join you here today.
It's great to have you here. So first question then is, if you don't mind sort of talking a bit about what you do at IC24 and how you were thinking about AI kind of individually and as an organization before we kind of came across each other. If you don't mind, sort of where was the organization and where were you too?
Yeah, absolutely. So as an organization, certainly our focus is certainly to this point been that integrated urgent care space. So 111 clinical assessment services, GP out of hours, and we've started looking at primary in-hours care as well. So our service portfolio has kind of grown and it's evolving all the time. And as an organisation, we've kind of, along with the rest of the NHS, really starting to look at how do we do things differently? How do we move along with the NHS plan to move from analog to digital and the care close to home? And how do we use our resources more efficiently? And how are we going to ensure that as an organisation we provide that value for money and continue really responding to what patients needs and what patients want? And I always think of myself as I'm a patient in some settings, and therefore I'm a consumer of healthcare. And as a consumer of healthcare, I come with quite a few expectations, and they can't always be met by the NHS. And I think we have to kind of reflect on that and whether they should all be trying to be met. But I've changed as a human about how I consume things, whether it's healthcare, whether it's because I do a bit of shopping online. And I think that's kind of where we've got to as an organisation. And how do we keep up with patient expectation, what we need to do within in the constraints we have, and continue to evolve? And that's kind of where we got to as an organisation before we kind of touched base, Laura, into how do we do things differently? I think that awful term, I say awful, I'll probably upset anybody listening who comes from a digital background. What does analog to digital mean? What does technology and healthcare mean, and how do we embrace it? But more importantly, embrace it in a way that a consumer of healthcare understands, but also, and the bit that I'd like to talk to you later, I'm sure we'll get there today, is how do we get our colleagues to engage with it? So that's kind of where we got to as an organisation, and planning what will the next 3 years look like.
Yeah.
So there was a real mixed bag in terms of the motivation behind bringing Laura in then, Katherine. So it was
absolutely.
From consumer to wanting to future-proof the organisation, support your staff so that they can deliver in a way that's much more efficient, and give them back a bit of headspace so that they can focus on the things that do need their attention and focus.
Yeah. How do you keep one step ahead of the changing policy? How do you keep one step ahead in terms of your thinking, and how do you prevent your organisation getting change fatigue? All those things are kind of, we're not unique. They'll be bubbling along every single organisation, certainly in the healthcare space. So that's kind of where we were organisationally. And personally, I've never been, this is probably oversharing, I've never been an early adopter of technology. I don't, you know, bearing in mind my title, Strategy and Transformation, I do actually quite like stability. But I realised I needed to get on the front foot of this. Otherwise, I was going to get scared of AI. And a bit like, you know, what will it actually mean? And if we couldn't get a handle on that and interpret it in a way that we can then share across the organisation, that can then feel quite threatening, especially when you, I suppose for us as an executive team, it's we run services from contact centres and remote care, and of course when you read things, they look like they're easily resolved with AI, and therefore it becomes something we didn't talk about or felt really difficult. And there's always that conversation, is it BI or AI? And all that kind of stuff was bubbling. And then luckily, Laura, we bumped into each other at a Urgent Health UK event that has been instrumental in kind of making it, we have this strapline at IC24, made to be brave, and I think we kind of followed that after meeting you.
Yeah, I think you did 100%. Go on, Tara-Lee.
So I'm really interested in that, in terms of your individual perspective, but then also how we sort of dovetail that with then obviously the organisation wanting to change and be at the forefront of change and transformation, and obviously deliver services in a really productive and efficient way, in the way that our patients want to see them.
Yes.
How did we start the journey? So how did we approach the work with the leadership team?
Well, I think the first key was don't try and do everything at once. And it was trying to understand, where does your journey begin? Because we know there's so much. We talk about ambient scribe, we talk about massive AI developments in diagnostics and all that kind of stuff. Now that's so conceptual. That's out there, isn't it? Really hard to understand. But it was kind of acknowledging we didn't even necessarily understand the basics, and therefore where do you start? And that's where Laura came in, because it's like, strip it right back. Of course we're not all going to turn into robots, and that's okay, and you kind of stepped us through it, didn't you, Laura? It was kind of a I don't want to say idiot's guide, that's really wrong. It was a starting point to lift us all up to kind of go, this is the capabilities. And I think what was lovely, Laura, that you helped us as a senior leadership team, was understanding the personal benefits you'll get by using AI in a safe way, personally, that gave us therefore headspace to think a bit differently. And I remember Laura gave me a fact when the first presentation. I thought, well, I don't believe that for a second. I think you promised me something like some ridiculous amount of
time back in the week, I think it was.
It was a ridiculous amount. I thought, oh, she's nice. And, you know, I thought, that's not happening. That's not happening. So that's the kind of place we started. So listening to that presentation, then asking Laura to come and do that again for all our senior, so executive team and directors of the organisation. And that was really important, where normally I am quite a fan of grassroots thinking and development to get the buy-in, but actually this was quite fundamental to get the senior leadership doing things differently and proving and showing that we're not threatened or scared by it. And I think that's really important, because I still hear, even in our own organisation, that AI is cheating.
Yeah.
And
We do that a lot.
that's a massive thing to allow your senior managers to acknowledge using AI to free you up to do the things a computer can't do. And what I need your creativity side of your brain that I don't think you necessarily get from the AI side, but that real creativity thinking was as valuable as you sitting there spending hours doing something. And so that's kind of where we started.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that really resonates, doesn't it, Laura, with and I guess really why we thought it was so important that you joined us, Katherine, because we've been advocating in the breathing room quite a lot about leading from the front, you know, making the space yourself as leaders to test, giving people permission to have a go, make mistakes, but keep trying. And it won't necessarily be perfect first time. No change ever is. But obviously giving yourself the space and the capacity and the freedom
letting people see it, letting people see that I'm not my value in the organization isn't diminished because I'm showing you or talking through a report that I used AI to help put together. And one of the other things I advocate quite strongly is use AI to double check what you're doing. So you're thinking, and then I've set up, thanks to Laura, now I know how to do it, like a coach that kind of goes, okay, if you were presenting this to the board, what might they ask you? And it just means I go better prepared because I've spent more time thinking more deeply about what my message is, what I'm trying to achieve, the outputs of what I'm doing, rather than the doing. So I think that's been really valuable, and we've been able to spread that through the senior managers starting to run their meetings differently. So that's something that basic. So we've started at the very beginning of an AI journey. How are you going to use that in your day-to-day interactions? One of the challenges, again, I'm sure is not unique to us, people's meeting burnout, I call it. You spend all your time in meetings and no one does any actions because they've just been in meetings till the next meeting, and they're reading the actions there because they've not had any time. And using AI creatively to free some of that time up, and even down to, are you using AI to do your meetings, your scribing of your meetings and your summaries, and changing those summaries for different audiences and doing a comms release just from that. It's fundamentally changed some of those practices and allowing more time for real conversation.
So we say quite a lot, we don't necessarily focus on the sexy things in the breathing room, but we do focus on the things that absolutely release time and add value.
And I think once we've done that, we've then been able to think about, okay, so if we can use that and we can demonstrate that in our day-to-day practice, what could we do for our clinicians? And then because we've all played with it and because, it hasn't devalued our roles and we're all still important to the organization, all those things that people worry about, it was much easier then to move into an AI scribe for clinicians because we're all comfortable. And, one of the, Laura, you remember this, one of the things that Laura really helped us think through as a group, the moment you get a big group of people together and say, let's try it, the first thing is, what about the governance? What about the safety? What about this? What about that? And Laura, you spent a lot of time with us, didn't you? I think it's fair to say, really helping us reflect on, you don't leave AI to do something on its own.
No.
There's a human there.
Yes. Validation and human part of the process, right?
Yeah. And that's what you really focuses on. What's the workflow? What do you want to release? I wanted to release time out of the management workflow. It's not to replace it. It's not going to become a huge governance risk because we're not, as Laura says, we're not leaving folders on a bus. We're not putting things that aren't safe, all those kind of practical things. But that was probably a really hard bit for us to break through the control and what will AI do with all this stuff.
And actually it's really about it, I think what you did as a team and you're talking about all these anecdotes and saying everyone's doing it but they're not, is actually the importance of bringing the team with you. And I think we were lucky to have the opportunity to all be in the room and get some of that through. So as you say, people felt secure and safe and they were like, oh, actually that's going to benefit me, it's going to benefit my team, it's going to benefit the organization. And I think that kind of leadership is so required before any of the technology, right?
Yeah, and I think until you've done that piece, you can't actually work out what your organizational strategy or policy needs to be about AI, because it's too broad and you need to kind of narrow it down. And it's okay to take small chunks of it. No one is going to, an organization like ours can't go, our AI strategy is this.
Yeah.
Because it's just too out there, and it's okay. It's okay, but how can I use AI in my job sensibly, and therefore how can a clinician use it sensibly and safely, with all the rules that sit around there? But yeah, it's been a journey. We're certainly, literally, I'd say, our big toes in it. But at least we've got a big toe in it, and I think if we hadn't, other organizations would have got it in, but you just have to be brave, and you just have to put a big toe in and realize it's okay.
And with your big toe in, and I think it's a big toe in, maybe a few small ones as well. When you think about, you've talked a lot about sort of the transition and bringing people with you, and I think you have gone a long way forward for an organization your size and with the leadership team. What, when you're looking forward now, what do you see is changing, and what are the main outcomes, that kind of like tangible stuff, right? You were talking about it, putting that kind of AI into real business, tangible outcomes. What are some of those?
Well, some of the things that I realize we've moved forward on is we now debate what access to AI every single group should have as a tool, where previously that wasn't there. It's, have you got that license or haven't you? Now it's what roles would really benefit from this tool. So all of a sudden we're talking not about AI as an add-on. Is it a tool that you need to fulfill your role? So that's been quite a shift for us. And I think what we're then using it for, what kind of outcomes do we expect from, I don't know, do we want from our teams in terms of some of the softer stuff? So I expect you to do some face-to-face with your teams, having proper conversations. I want you to release that time. And they're some people would think they were soft outcomes, but they're really not in this kind of environment where you really need to keep your good people, your good minds, and how do you that time. So there's one about how we use AI in I'd call it the more corporate business end of the business, but it's actually then helping us shape what do we want for our patient facing side, and how can we then use some of that learning in terms of how's it released my time and I call it mental load, for a better term. How am I releasing that, and how can I do that for patients? So where can we then use that kind of same thing on a patient journey, even into the 111 space, and we're working with a national team. How do you use natural language processing? How do you use all those kind of things, where actually it's all AI, but it's more comfortable when we don't label it that.
Interesting.
So there's lots of things that you can then start looking at your patient flows. How do you make that a more engaging process for the patient experience? And anybody listening, I'm not taking away from all the regulations that you do around patient AI, but there are some things that you can do safely and in a controlled way. But I think we've been able to use the understanding that actually it's made that interaction for a meeting much easier. How could I use that to make an interaction between a patient and a clinician, or a patient and healthcare easier? So I think it certainly helped us think more creatively, because we're not trying to define AI greater than we're ready for.
And actually what you're talking about is integration in real business with real people, aren't you? And it's not this kind of thing in a spaceship that we have to bring in and no one knows what's inside it, but actually it's practical business work streams.
Yeah, and you were very clear on that, and I think that was really helpful for everybody to understand. Don't start with the AI tool. Start with your workflow, whether it's a patient pathway or whether it's a workflow for your admin team, whatever it is, start there and then work out what the problem is and what you're trying to solve, rather than deciding, oh, I love that little bit of AI kit, I'm going to plump that in somewhere. Because if you do it that way around, it just won't embed properly and you won't have the buy-in. So I think that was really important for us to learn. But to be fair, it's the same as when you're doing any system change. Don't start with something, start with the flow. But you can forget, people can forget that, especially if there's high change a lot of the time.
And there's a lot of noise, isn't there? There's a lot of AI noise. There's a lot of sell of different products and bits of kit, as you say. Sometimes it's a bit hard to see the wood for the trees, isn't it, in terms of the amount of tools that are out there at the moment.
Yeah, and it is really about what are you trying to solve? What's the problem? What's the benefit and the outputs you're expecting? And I think by pulling it back that way, that's why we were able to move a bit faster with AI Scribe and things like that, because we knew what we were trying to do. It wasn't just everyone's using AI Scribe, we must give it a go. It didn't start there. It was like, how do we reduce the emotional load of our clinicians? How are we going to, that's the question. And then we work back. So I think certainly by bringing the exec team and the senior leaders together, it helped them realize that that's more important than finding the shiny toy. And we all love shiny toys, don't we? We all love the next shiny thing. We can't help it.
Yeah, we do, but there's too many when it comes to AI. So I think we're all overloaded with them now. So actually,
and if you do it that way, you just won't do any of it.
Yeah.
Because it's all too much.
Yeah.
And so Katherine, you said Laura threw out a figure at you and said, we're going to get you this much capacity back.
Did I? Yeah.
How has that felt in practice?
The first time you used, I must admit, for the first while when I was using basic AI, in systems, it was, I kept thinking it was wrong, and I kept thinking I was cheating. As I said before, that is a massive thing, isn't it? And I was thinking, oh, I really need to spend more time writing this report. I need to spend more time on my ball paper. It used to take me half a day. It's not doing that anymore. Is that right? So I think that it's definitely reduced that the time it takes to do something that I then use differently. So instead of just kind of rushing and getting a paper together, I can get the paper together, and then I can do the challenging of, if you were if I'm a non-exec director, what am I going to think of this paper? And then it might say, actually, you've given no reflection on risk, for instance. And then I can spend some really good time thinking, actually, that's absolutely right. A board paper shouldn't just be an update. It's about where are our strategic risks? What am I doing to mitigate it? And so, yeah, definitely, I think it's given me more time to do the job I'm employed to do.
Amazing.
Because actually they're not employing me because I can write a good paper. They want me to think about the other bits, and it does give you that time. And even getting minutes from meetings, from other meetings that I don't necessarily have to attend now, I can actually say, okay, looking at my portfolio, what do I need to focus on? Can I, and it can work out, this question may not be truly answered, and then I can go and have that human interaction. So I think it reduced more time than I was expecting, without a doubt, because I was not a believer.
Yeah, amazing.
But it has. Now it does. I'm not saying it's freed up all my time so I can spend more time shopping or laying out stuff, because you start doing things in a different way, and it's the other stuff that is actually adding more value to the organisation than the the stuff we just get really bogged down with.
absolutely.
I'm probably a pain to everyone else now, because I can go through minutes and I can go, oh, at that meeting, did you talk about? And you can instantly do that kind of conversation. So I think it just keeps everyone a bit sharper. I think it's definitely made me sharper, and I wasn't
really
expecting
tangible results for you then, by the sounds of it.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
Very.
And so for anybody that's watching now, because we have got people watching, hello out there in internet land, and the people that might be sitting there and thinking, okay, we really need to start leading this. We really need to start benefiting from embedding readily available AI in our organization. Why would you suggest they go for it now and not wait another 6 months, another 12 months to let other things play through? Why now?
I think now's really key. Now is the absolute time to do it, because if you wait any longer, you'll be quite far behind, and it will have evolved so much, you'll have missed the basic steps. So it's doing higher maths without learning your times tables. This is it feels there's enough out there to keep your interest. There's enough out there to test yourself without having to, go heavily into a certain type of AI or anything like that. And if you can get your basics built into how you do your day-to-day work now, as it all evolves, you'll evolve with it. Where I think if you wait too long, you may be really playing catch up, and I think that will be really hard for an organization. So, and it's my advice is go really basic. Use the tools you're probably already paying for. You just don't know how to use them. And it reminds me of when we first went into COVID. I mean, let's face it, meetings like this didn't happen before. We didn't use instant messaging in a workplace. I mean, you just said, don't be ridiculous. You wouldn't have this type of interaction. And there was something forced us to do it. COVID forced us. We have this opportunity now to start using things in a new way. But we don't want to wait for another COVID, is what I'm trying to say. I'd use everything that you've got in your toolkits already, and just get the bravery to start using it.
Fantastic. That was one of your fans, by the way, Catherine.
It really was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was trying to get hold of you.
Well, and I think you've articulated it brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're writing the marketing for the breathing room as you speak, so we really appreciate your.
And I wasn't a convert to start with.
No, I know, but I think you've had, you've obviously sort of taken that challenge and done exactly what you've described, and I think you've described it so aligned with what people are thinking and what they're experiencing, and just the bringing that leadership team with everybody in IC24 on the journey was so important, and you've articulated that brilliantly. So,
and the one key thing I'd like to leave with people: really help your teams understand it's not cheating. That's my biggest thing. It is not cheating using AI. That would be my leaving message.
Good takeaway.
I mean, it's spot on, because again, it's a leadership communication thing, isn't it? It's making people feel trusted that they can go. I wrote that report in about 10 minutes, and it used to take me a day, and actually I can do some other stuff now. So it isn't cheating. And what Catherine's been describing is the difference between AI that kind of sits along in a kind of tech stream somewhere in the business, and actually bringing the kind of AI strategy front and center for the leadership team, even if they were kicking and screaming at some point, or thinking it was cheating. But actually that progression has been transformational, I think. And I think IC24 have been one of the first to put their whole foot in and start seeing the benefits. And as we say here, as seeing how AI can really create that breathing space, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're thinking about how to do that with your own organization, using the tools you've already had, as Katherine says, without overwhelming your teams and taking them with us, we'd invite you to come and have a conversation with us. Katherine, you are an incredible leader, incredibly insightful, and we really appreciate you being here.
My
And
pleasure.
we look forward to speaking with you very soon.